Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our webinar today on how to use IACRA after passing your Part 107 exam. Just as a quick reminder, we posted this up in our chat box there so that everyone could see, but if you could please just keep yourselves muted to eliminate any background noise during the presentation, we definitely appreciate it. We are recording this so that it can be used and accessed by additional folks later on if need be. And we will save time for questions at the end. So if you do have questions, what we'd ask you to do is to submit those via the chat box as well. We're keeping track of those, and we'll go ahead and get to those at the end to answer any questions you might have about IACRA, or if you have any other FAA related questions, happy to answer those as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off. My name is Colin Romberger, and I am the Chief Pilot and Operations Consultant for Dart Drones. Some of you may have joined us for webinars in the past that I've hosted on behalf of Dart Drones, and if this is your second or third time with one of our webinars and hearing me, you've seen this bio before, but I've been involved in the unmanned aircraft industry now for coming up on about 5 years. I got started well before Part 107 as a Section 333 operator, and also have a master's degree in unmanned systems from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. My background beyond unmanned aviation, just aviation in general, is quite varied. I actually started flying small planes when I was in high school, and loved building and flying RC planes and everything else as a kid leading up to that point. When I got to college, I made a journey over to the dark side, as some people in aviation say, and I started to jump out of airplanes as opposed to staying in them, and actually worked in the skydiving industry for about 8 years, both as an instructor and also in gear manufacturing and equipment design. In addition to my work with unmanned aircraft, I also hold a number of other FAA certificates related to manned aviation as both an advanced ground instructor and as a private pilot. And in addition to my work with Dart Drones as a consultant and as an instructor, I have my own company in South Central Pennsylvania, and also we do work in Northern Maryland, focusing on mapping and inspections, primarily of construction sites and roadway projects. So that's a little bit about me, but let's go ahead and kick things off and discuss why we're all here today, which is IACRA. So what is IACRA anyway? So IACRA stands for Integrated Airman Certification and Rating Application. The bottom line is this is the FAA's online portal where you're going to go to submit any application for an FAA certificate or a rating, and that includes our Part 107 certificates as well. The IACRA has been around for a few years at this point, probably about a decade or so, actually, maybe even a little bit more. And it is definitely a much more streamlined process than the old paper methods for submitting applications and rating requests. It is a very user-friendly system once you understand it. However, like many government systems, the actual at first glance, the interface and things like that can seem a little bit daunting. So we're going to take you through today and just explain a little bit about how this process works. Because it is web-based, you can access this at any time and at any location, provided that you just keep your login credentials with you. You can always get on there and use the system. And as you'll see as we go through here, especially for the Part 107 operations, definitely is pretty straightforward. So the website, just so that you have it, is IACRA, IACRA.faa.gov. And basically, you're going to be going to the IACRA website as soon as you pass your Part 107 exam and you've left the test center and you have that test report with you. So when you first visit IACRA, you'll just go to that URL that we gave you before, and up near the top on that right-hand side, you'll see in our little screenshot there, you've got a register button. So the first thing you do, like any online account type of interface or web portal, is you have to create a brand new account as a new user. So you'll click on register and you'll go ahead and just put in all your normal profile information. You'll give your full legal name, your mailing address. It has to be a valid residential address. They will make you click a button to validate that address as well. You have to have and you also have to create a username and a very strong password. This is probably one of the sites that requires the strongest of passwords that I have ever seen. Currently, right now, I believe the password requirements are that it has to be 12 to 50 characters and has to include everything, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, and special characters, as well as numbers, I believe also. So if you're used to using the same thing, chances are if it's not 12 characters, you're going to have to come up with something new. Once you get through with all of that, you'll go ahead and click register, and that will then generate your account. So once the account is created, and you can do this before you take the 107 exam. That's fine. You can do it afterwards and then roll right into the application. That's fine too. But once you create the account, it will ask you to verify that. It'll send you an email to confirm, and you'll click on the link in the email that they send you just to confirm that the account is created. At that point, you can go ahead after you've taken your test and you have your test report from the test center. You can go ahead on and submit your application for your new remote pilot certificate. So to do this, the timeline, how this is going to work, you're going to go, you're going to take your test at the FAA Test Center. They're going to give you that test report at the end that will have a reference number on there, linking that to your score. It also links to basically who you are and your identity. This is the reason why, as far as the biannual review process for Part 107 certificates, we may initially have to use a slightly different system than a fully online-based system. But basically, when you go to the test center and you show them your ID when you check in, that counts as identification verification. So at that point, when you get that test report, your identification verification information is also tied to that as well. So you can actually, once you've passed the test and you have that report, you do not have to interact with any other physical people to be able to get your certificate. Everything else you're going to do can be done through IACRA if you went and took the full Part 107 knowledge test. A little bit different if you were a manned aircraft pilot and did the FAA sort of online quiz to get your 107 initially, but for everyone that's going to the test centers and taking the full-on test, IACRA is all you'll need to do. So you'll get your test report, and then you're going to come home and you're going to go onto your IACRA account and you're going to submit a new application for a remote pilot certificate. Approximately 1 week after you do that, you're going to get an email alert that comes through, and it's going to say that your temporary certificate is available on IACRA, so you can log back in and you'll have a link there to print that temporary certificate. Approximately 1 to 3 months, usually it's about 45 to 60 days after you've submitted everything through IACRA, you will receive your permanent certificate just in the mail, and it's a credit card style certificate that comes to you. And what I always tell all of our students, your remote pilot certificate is not a photo ID. You will not have a photo on there. No one's taking any pictures of you during this process. So whenever you're out flying, the FAA does require that you have both your Part 107 or your remote pilot certificate, as well as some sort of valid government photo ID. All right, so moving on then, and we'll take a look through here at some of our slides for completing this application on IACRA. So once you log in after you've completed the test and you go to your dashboard, it's going to bring you into what they call the applicant console, and that's what you see right here. You'll see that right up at the top, there is a button that says Start New Application. So you're going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to bring you in then to another form that we're going to fill out. So the type of application lists up there first, and there'll be a drop down there. You're going to select pilot. There are different things that are in there. We've got mechanic. The FAA has certificate types for lots of different types of what they call airmen, so air traffic controllers, mechanics. They all fall under different categories. But since we're talking remote pilot, we will fall under the pilot category. Once you select that, it's going to come up with a list of certifications that you can select from. And for us, we're going to go to remote pilot. So you'll click on that one. After that, now the screenshot you see here, this is representative of my account. So this is a little bit different. It's going to show up a little bit differently for you the first time around. But once you click on Remote Pilot, then under Other Path Information, it should come up and say Small Unmanned Aircraft System. You can go ahead and click on that. You will not have any other information shown down there below if this is the first time you're applying for the certificate. So you'll just click on Small Unmanned Aircraft and then move to the next block as far as start application, which you can see the little button down there to click that. Changed since you created the account? Probably not, because you're going to be doing this in relatively quick succession. So that should pop in there as well. It may ask you to go ahead and run the validation again, so you might get a little validate button there. If it does, go ahead and click on that. Then when you get down to the next little section there, it's going to give you supplementary data. So there's two questions you have to answer. The first is, do you read, speak, write, and understand the English language? So you can go ahead and click on that. And that'll just be a yes or no. And the second is going to be drug convictions. So it'll ask you, have you ever been convicted of a violation for any federal or state statutes related to narcotic drugs? So marijuana, anything. So you'll just answer yes or no there as well. Once you hit save and continue on that little block, then it's going to take you down to the last little section for remote pilot. And again, if you went to the FAA Test Center, you took the full 60-question Part 107 knowledge test, you are going to click on the first block that says completion of knowledge test. Once you click on that, it's going to give you an area where you can then input the reference number that's going to be on your test report. So once you go ahead and click on that, you'll enter your reference number in there in the block provided. You will not need to upload any additional documentation for this one. You'll basically just need to make sure that you have the information from any of your any identification documents to confirm those. Whatever ID that you used at the test center, you'll want to go ahead and enter that information as well to verify that you are also the individual putting things through in IACRA. So you'll go ahead and save that information, and then it'll move on to the final section. So at this point, you should have all little green check boxes that we saw there, and now it's time to just review and submit. So there is one last question. They'll ask you if you've ever been denied for any FAA certificate in the past. So you'll have to answer that question. It'll then go ahead and give you a summary of all the information that you are getting ready to submit. So just go ahead and take a quick look through that, make sure that it is populated correctly. It may actually also have you view a little kind of PDF that'll pop up that shows you an actual FAA Airman Certificate application. It's Form 8710, and it'll be all pre-populated with all of your info. So just make sure that, again, everything that shows up there is correct, no misspellings, no misinformation like that. And it'll also prompt you to review what's called the Pilot's Bill of Rights, Privacy Act, and Privacy Act as well. So you'll click you'll click the check boxes to say that you've reviewed those, and then we can go ahead and submit the documentation. So to sign and complete it, this is where, again, you're acknowledging that Pilot's Bill of Rights. You will do a digital signature to complete your application. And then once you hit that final submit button, everything is automatically sent to the FAA's Airman Certification Division. And like we said, you'll wait approximately 7 days, and then you're going to get an email that comes through. It'll probably only be about 3 to 4 business days, and you'll get an email that comes through and says, okay, your temporary certificate is ready. You can go online and print that out. So once you log back into IACRA, you'll have that link there to print the temporary. Print it out. It does need to be signed. There'll be a section on there for you to put a signature, so make sure you print it off and sign it. And once you have that in hand, as long as you have that piece of paper along with your photo ID, you are now legal, and you can start flying commercial small unmanned aircraft flights under those Part 107 regulations. That permanent certificate, just a reminder, will come in the mail about 45 to 60 days, but no more than 90 days. The FAA has a they're required by law to basically reply within 90 days with your certificate. So that would be the absolute longest, but usually just 45 to 60 days. One other caveat that I'll just kind of throw in here, if we do have anyone on the line that is a pilot, a manned aircraft pilot already, you have a Part 61 pilot certificate as a sport pilot, private pilot, something like that, and you are applying for your remote pilot certificate after taking the FAA's online quiz through the FAST website, the training website. The overall process is going to be a little bit different for you. Before you go into IACRA to submit everything, well, actually, you will go into IACRA to submit everything and fill out your application. But before it'll actually allow you to submit it, you're going to have to go and visit a local flight instructor at a local flight school. That flight instructor has to validate your identity. So because you didn't actually go to an FAA knowledge test center to have your ID checked whenever you took that exam, you will need to go see a flight instructor to have them check your ID. They will go into IACRA while you're there and do the final process to have everything submitted. So it is a little bit different. But for most of you, I'm sure you've taken, you're going to go to the FAA testing center. You're going to take that full Part 107 knowledge test, and you'll do the entire rest of the process just like we've outlined here for you over IACRA. So that being said, does anyone have any questions at this point? And it does not look like we have any questions yet. If anyone else, nope, doesn't look like we have anything. So if you do have any questions, feel free to email us. We have our email address down there, info@dartdrones.com. You can also feel free to give us a call at the 800 number there. And as we say, we do love talking about drones. So feel free to give us a call. Any questions that you have, we're happy to share our passion, our knowledge, and make sure that you're on the right track. So thank you all for joining us today. I know this was a short webinar, but hopefully we outlined the process for you, made it clear, and now wish you all the best in all your future flights. Thanks a lot and have a great day.